Mitch Miller, it's Friday, May 6th at 1:34 p.m. Eastern Time. This is my video journal type thing. I have a podcast, but I only get about 20 listeners on that, so maybe someday this will get a lot more viewers or listeners. We're talking today pistol duels. Now, I think if the elite of the world were really honorable gentlemen, they would solve their disputes instead of war, instead of hiring a bunch of poor people to go fight wars for them. They could simply write to each other and challenge each other to a duel. They could acquire Kevlar vests and Kevlar cod pieces, produce sets of muzzle-loading black powder dueling pistols. They could get their security team to set up a date and a time to have a pistol duel. They could stand back to back with their dueling pistols, walk 15 paces, turn, and fire wearing their Kevlar protection. Then they could establish the rule that if you aim for the head or strike the head during your duel, there would be a sniper from each side pointed at the dueler, and you would instantly be executed if you shot someone in the head during a duel. You have to aim for the body, and that's where you strike. Then whatever happens, the duel is resolved, the issue is resolved, the territory is claimed. If neither side strikes each other, it's a draw, and both live to duel another day. And this technology already exists. You don't have to wait for my weapons company to develop a compressed air powered paintball dueling pistol. You could have non-lethal duels right now to resolve war and issues. So, say Ukraine and Russian officers, they could duel instead of killing each other. Just a thought. On that note, I do want to develop a non-lethal dueling system where the trigger locks out, and that's the only excuse you really have, is that the other dueler, once one fires, could stand and aim for 20 seconds and be sure to strike the vitals of the opposite opponent, so there's no necessarily motivation to fire the quickest. But with wirelessly synced dueling pistols, they could lock out after a certain time. They could lock out after a few seconds after one fires, and therefore the motivation is to turn and fire as quickly as possible. Thereby the more expert marksman with the quickest shot would win the duel. So I do want to develop these, and I know that Israel and Palestine are making the news quite often. So if I'm in charge of this weapons company, I would be able to release these dueling pistol sets, these paintball dueling pistol sets, to the Israelis and the Palestinians at the same time, one for one. Each side gets one set, matching. As each one acquires a set, we can match one for one and ensure that both sides have access to the equipment at the same time evenly. Then we could field I said I have a lot of ideas for reality shows. We could field a television program where Palestinians challenge Israelis to a duel. The winner gets their house in that settlement. So the Israelis are settling contested areas that Palestine claims. Well, we can solve this non-lethally. Each Palestinian age 18 or older has the right to challenge an Israeli 18 or older to a duel. Now, the Palestinians would probably more likely challenge landowning Israeli citizens so that they could acquire the land or the housing that Israeli owns. So they each get a chance to challenge them to a duel. The winner gets the property. Once the Palestinian wins or loses, they can either claim the property, or if they lose, they can no longer, they've lost their ability to duel again. They get one chance. By the same tactics, the Israelis can challenge Palestinians in contested areas to try to acquire the rights to settle in that area. Within a year or two, if we produce enough of this dueling equipment, we could probably resolve the entire conflict between Israel and Palestine. It would be the perfect ground to test out and develop a peace treaty and an honor system for this type of warfare. The Israelis can say to the Palestinians, you each and every one of you had a chance. It came down to the more expert marksmanship. We both had access at equal amounts to this equipment, and the contested lands are now settled. So that's just my thought. That's why we should do this documentary style film I proposed this winter solstice in this December of 2022. But I feel that I'll never get funding for it because too many people are afraid their guns are going to get taken away and burned in a public square. It's just a symbolic gesture. Ken Bryan is a pretty good sport. He's a former Lionsgate employee. I think if we approached him, or if Lionsgate approached him about this film, he would be on board for it, as long as he could reacquire his weapons if he wins a pistol duel after a year or until he does win that pistol duel, and he will practice every day until he can. I think it's fair to be able to disarm rich, white, hypothetically Catholic, or whatever religious cult they're in temporarily, so that they do not hoard guns to start some kind of revolution out of a village that was mostly peaceful and somewhat anarchist for my entire adult lifetime, my entire life growing up. We didn't need police. Ken brought the police into town because of his businesses. It's a perfect microcosm of politics at play, and buying in to this mentality that you need the police, you need law, you need politicians. Anyhow, let's resolve the Israeli-Palestinian conflict sooner than later. Innocent people are being killed every day. Let's bring about this weapons company with your seed money. Thanks for watching. Join me on Monday when I probably do another one of these.